I think there's so many powerful people that are on those lists. There's so many powerful people that went and partied. Air quotes, partied. And how many of them went to the Diddy party? Have you been paying attention to the trial?
Oh, yeah.
Trial. Wild.
Joe Rogan believes the story surrounding Diddy didn't begin with the federal charges that made headlines. According to him, those charges may simply be the latest chapter in a much longer story, one that stretches back nearly 3 decades and begins with one of the biggest unsolved cases in hip-hop history. If that's true, then the recent reports coming out of prison could mean far more than people realize. Because according to claims circulating online, Diddy wasn't recently placed in solitary confinement over a routine disagreement. The rumor is that an altercation with another inmate forced prison officials to separate him from the general population. While those reports haven't been officially confirmed by federal authorities, they've sparked a fresh wave of speculation, especially after several commentators, including Joe Rogan, began discussing what they believe could be happening behind the scenes. The question is simple. Was this really just another prison incident? Or is it connected to a much bigger story that has followed Diddy for years? To understand why people are asking that, you have to go back to the mid-1990s. Long before lawsuits, federal investigations, or courtroom headlines, hip-hop was dominated by 2 record labels. On one side was Death Row Records. On the other was Bad Boy Entertainment. At first, the rivalry wasn't nearly as serious as people remember today. In fact, there was a time when Tupac Shakur, the notorious B.I.G., and Diddy all crossed paths without the bitterness that would later define their relationships. Old footage even shows artists from both camps together before the tension exploded. Everything changed as the East Coast-West Coast rivalry intensified. What started as competition between labels slowly turned personal, drawing artists, managers, and entire fan bases into one of the most famous feuds in music history. Then came September 7, 1996. After attending the Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, Tupac was shot multiple times while riding in a car driven by Death Row CEO Suge Knight. 6 days later, Tupac died from his injuries. The murder shocked the world. Despite years of investigations, no one was immediately charged, and the case became one of the biggest mysteries in entertainment history. Countless documentaries, books, and interviews tried to answer the same question: who ordered the attack? For decades, people offered different theories. Then, in 2023, the investigation took a dramatic turn. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis was indicted in connection with Tupac's murder, bringing the case back into the national spotlight. Suddenly, old interviews, police documents, and long-forgotten allegations started circulating again. Among the biggest claims were accusations that had followed Diddy for years. According to former investigators and statements attributed to Keefe D., there were allegations that Diddy had offered money to have Tupac, and possibly Suge Knight, killed. Diddy has consistently denied involvement in Tupac's murder, and he has never been criminally charged in connection with the case. Even so, Keefe D's indictment caused many people to revisit those older allegations. That's one of the reasons Joe Rogan believes the current investigation surrounding Diddy can't be viewed in isolation. In his opinion, once investigators started examining one part of Diddy's past, it became much harder to ignore the rest. At the same time, another familiar name returned to the conversation: Suge Knight. Over the years, Suga has shared different accounts of what happened inside the vehicle after the shooting. In one version, he described talking with Tupac as they searched for a safer route to the hospital. According to Suge, Tupac was alert enough to speak with him, and even joked during the drive. Those comments immediately sparked debate. Critics pointed out that medical reports described Tupac's condition as extremely serious, leading many people to question whether Suge's recollection was completely accurate. Others argued that traumatic events can affect memory, making inconsistencies understandable after so many years. Still, the questions never disappeared. Some investigators also wondered why security that night appeared so limited, considering the public tensions surrounding death row at the time. Those concerns have fueled speculation for decades, although no definitive evidence has answered every question surrounding the attack. Then another important piece of the timeline resurfaced. Just days before the shooting, Snoop Dogg had given an interview saying he respected both Diddy and the notorious B.I.G. and was open to working with them. According to Snoop, those comments created tension between him and Tupac, who viewed the East Coast rivalry very differently. Snoop has openly acknowledged that the relationship between them became strained during those final days. That revelation has led many fans to revisit the timeline, wondering whether divisions inside death row were already growing before the shooting occurred. By this point, Joe Rogan believes the story stops looking like a collection of isolated events. Instead, it starts resembling a timeline filled with unanswered questions, resurfacing allegations, and people whose names continue appearing every time investigators revisit Tupac's murder. And according to Rogan, that's exactly why the recent prison reports surrounding Diddy have captured so much attention, because if investigators are still following threads that began in 1996, then the biggest revelations may still be ahead. As investigators continued digging into Tupac's murder, another claim kept resurfacing, one involving an alleged $1 million payment. According to statements attributed to Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, Diddy allegedly offered money to have Tupac and Suge Knight killed. Keefe D. later discussed those allegations in interviews and in his memoir, and investigators have examined portions of his account as part of the broader Tupac investigation. Diddy has repeatedly denied any involvement in Tupac's murder, and no court has found him responsible for the killing. Still, once Keefe D. was indicted in 2023, public interest in those old allegations exploded again. That's why Joe Rogan believes people shouldn't look at today's headlines in isolation. From his perspective, every major development seems to lead investigators back to unanswered questions from the 1990s. Then came another rumor that added even more fuel to the conversation. Reports began circulating that Diddy had been placed in solitary confinement after allegedly choking another inmate during an altercation. Those reports were widely discussed online, although prison officials have not publicly confirmed the details. According to the rumors, the inmate had been provoking Diddy and bringing up subjects connected to his legal troubles. Some commentators even claim the conversation involved Tupac's murder. That specific claim has never been verified. Even so, it quickly became part of the larger online narrative, because many people already believed Diddy's past and present legal problems were connected. Joe Rogan has suggested that once investigators began looking into Diddy's current legal situation, they may have also re-examined older allegations that had never completely disappeared. Whether that's actually happening remains unclear, but it explains why so many decades-old interviews are suddenly being viewed millions of times again. One relationship receiving renewed attention is Diddy's connection to Sarah Chapman. Chapman and Tupac reportedly dated during the mid-1990s before she later had a daughter with Diddy years afterward. Some internet users have tried to connect those relationships to theories about the East Coast-West Coast rivalry. However, there is no verified evidence that Sarah Chapman's relationship history played any role in Tupac's murder, despite widespread online speculation. That's an important distinction because many social media posts present theories as though they've already been proven. They haven't. The same applies to another rumor that recently resurfaced. Some online commentators have attempted to link Diddy to Jeffrey Epstein by pointing to claims that powerful individuals often moved within similar celebrity circles. While photographs exist showing numerous public figures attending high-profile events over the years, no evidence presented in court has established a criminal connection between Diddy and Epstein. Even so, internet speculation has combined those separate stories into one much larger narrative. That's exactly what Joe Rogan warns people about. He believes there are still legitimate questions surrounding powerful individuals and unsolved cases, but he also argues that speculation can easily outrun evidence once social media becomes involved. Meanwhile, the Tupac investigation continues moving forward. Keefe D. remains the only person charged in connection with Tupac's murder, and prosecutors continue building their case. Whether additional people will ever face charges remains unknown. For many fans, that's the biggest unanswered question. If investigators truly believe the conspiracy extended beyond one individual, could more names eventually emerge? Or will the story end with Keefe D. alone? That's why this case continues capturing attention nearly 30 years later. It's no longer just about one tragic night in Las Vegas. It's about decades of rivalries, unanswered questions, resurfaced allegations, and a murder that continues to shape conversations about hip-hop history. As for Joe Rogan's comments, they have encouraged many people to revisit old interviews, police files, and witness statements with fresh eyes. Whether those reviews uncover anything new remains to be seen, but they've certainly reignited public interest in one of music's greatest mysteries. For now, separating verified facts from internet theories remains more important than ever. The federal case against Diddy is ongoing. The Tupac murder prosecution is still working its way through the courts, and many of the claims circulating online remain allegations rather than established facts. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think investigators are finally getting closer to the full truth behind Tupac's murder? Or do you believe too many years have passed for every question to ever be answered? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the next video, because this story is still unfolding, and every new development seems to raise even more questions than it answers.